ब्रेक द बाइक बाई फिर सारे स्वागत करते हैं। तुसीं वेख रहे हो प्रोग्राम अज दा मुद्दा। सो ऑफ कोर्स असी तुहानू काफ़ी सारी जानकारी दी कि ग्राउंड लैवल ते की हो रहा है, बट जिस तरह तुहानू पहले भी दस्सिया सी कि अज तुहानू कुछ रिसोर्सिस भी प्रोवाइड करांगे इस बहुत वड्डे मुद्दे नू लैके जो कि इस मुल्क दे हर एक रहने वाले नू अफैक्ट करता है किसी ना किसी लैवल ते, भावें तुसी अमेरिकन हो, नॉन अमेरिकन हो, डॉक्यूमेंटेड अनडॉक्यूमेंट, देसी, वाइट, ब्राउन, ब्लैक, स्पैनिश, ये साडा सारियां दा मुद्दा है। सो इस सिचुएशन दे विच अज दी डेट दे विच तुहानू की सब तो इंपॉर्टेंट जानकारी पता होनी चाहिए, खास करके जिथे असी सिख कम्यूनिटी की गल करते हैं, साडे हक इस मुल्क दे सिस्टम दे मुताबिक की हन। इस उत्ते जानकारी देने लई साडे नाल जुड़े हैं साडी कम्यूनिटी सिख कौम दी एक प्रीमियर सिविल राइट्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन SALDEF, सिख अमेरिकन लीगल डिफेंस एंड एजुकेशन फंड वालों जसलीन कौर। सब तो पहले जसलीन, सच अ प्लेजर टू हैव यू बैक अगेन। सत श्री अकाल। Jaslin, it's so good to see you as a member of SALDEF. Now, of course, you are local New York City, the community member, you're politically very active, but now SALDEF as the senior manager of civic engagement and community outreach. And as such, you're seeing at the ground level what's happening here in New York City. Sab to pehle, Jaslin, you know, everyone's seeing reports of L.A., depending on ਤੁਹਾਡਾ news source ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿੰਨਾ mainstream versus Facebook, YouTube ਦੇ sources ਨੂੰ ਵੇਖਦੇ ਹੋ, you know, you're seeing different images. But New York City ਦੀ ਅਗਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ, your home, my home, what's happening at the ground level ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਇਹ ICE raids ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ?
Right. So we remember a few months ago, there were a few rumors of ICE raids at the Gurdwara, and thankfully those were not true. Nothing was reported to happen at our Gurudwara, which is a great relief. And to this day, we have not received any reports of ICE raids at our Gurudwara Sahib, which is also another great relief. But I think people are increasingly worried about how immigration enforcement, military are being used to attack those who want to keep our families together. And I think people are very scared, especially out of the riots that are happening in LA. Now people are protesting almost every day in New York City, but it's because we're seeing immigration enforcement get even stronger in New York City. Recently, we saw a Queens high school student who was detained after showing up to a routine immigration court check-in. If you are somebody who is seeking status, you are probably familiar with that. And it creates a scary situation where I think right now our community in New York feels very vulnerable.
Yeah, and you know, the old saying goes, if you take away one person's rights, you're taking everyone's rights away. And so ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸੋਚ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਫੈਕਟ ਕਰਦਾ, ਜਾਂ ਜੋ ਪੱਕੇ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਇਹ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੋਏ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਪੱਕੇ ਆ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਫਰਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੈਂਦਾ. But is there a level of accountability or transparency with these raids? Is this something that, you know, community activists or members that work with the community can say assuredly is only targeting undocumented migrants that are up for deportation, or is the net that's being cast much wider?
It's hard to say, but I think because of what we're seeing in the media, where no matter your citizenship, you can still be detained in an ICE raid, it's making people feel scared. We recently saw a citizen, leader of a major, you know, union in this country in California.
Mr. Huerta, yep.
Yeah, and he was also detained. Thankfully, he was released. But I think we're seeing a callousness from our immigration enforcement, where they're not necessarily looking to check your immigration status. They're looking to harm any kind of dissent.
It's definitely scary times indeed. Jaslin, so what, you know, in terms of resources, what is being put together by our civil rights organizations, namely SALDEF? You're working on this personally. You have a great event coming up with some information as well. I want to share the information on the screen. So tell us a little bit about what SALDEF is doing to help folks out right now.
So SALDEF is, of course, the nation's oldest Sikh American civil rights organization. So we have been at the forefront even before 9/11, protecting Sikhs with their civil rights and getting to know their rights, which is exactly what this is. So we have actually been traveling across the country, visiting Gurdwara in different states, including California, Virginia, New Jersey, and Illinois, where we can provide know your rights information to the Sangat so they know how to protect themselves if they encounter ICE, other immigration enforcement, CBP. And so we're hosting this webinar because we really believe in community education is an empowering tool to safeguard your civil rights and to protect you and your family. So as you can see, we have a Punjabi speaking immigration attorney who will be there in person on this webinar. And so you can actually have the access in both Punjabi and English to have your questions answered about what happens if I am traveling abroad and somebody tries to search my phone. What do I do if ICE comes to my door? Do I have to answer? And other questions you might have about visa, asylum. These are all questions that we will address and will be a really great resource for the community.
Once again, SALDEF ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ completely free obviously webinar host ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਜੂਨ 18 ਤਾਰੀਖ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ webinar ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਗਰ join ਕਰਨਾ you can scan the QR code ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ screen ਤੇ ਵੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ it'll take you right to the page it's super easy phone ਕੱਢ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣੇ ਹੀ ਇਸ QR code ਨੂੰ scan ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ register ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ language ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ legal ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਕਿ ਕੀ rights resources ਕੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣੀਆਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਰੱਬ ਨਾ ਕਰੇ ਅਗਰ ਇਹੋ ਜੀ ਮੁਸੀਬਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਏ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ the point being you know we as citizens residents or even undocumented individuals have rights in this country and these rights the more you know about them you know the better equipped you are so to speak against abuses of power against misunderstandings right maybe you're mistaken for someone else and you're accidentally swept up in one of these raids Jaslin I want to ask with you if this is information you can share because this is something that's been coming up a lot with our viewers you mentioned you travel to a lot of gurdwaras right gurdware ਭਾਵੇਂ ਮੰਦਿਰ ਹੋਣ ਭਾਵੇਂ churches synagogues you know in the United States religious freedom is such an important fundamental right of this country and so these religious grounds are protected grounds in some instance is that something that we can count on today or is there a big question mark as to whether the religious protections would be in place for a house of worship were a ICE raid to take place you know against members of a congregation against individuals that may be taking shelter in one of these places
and the policies are changing every single day and we're seeing immigration enforcement interpret the laws that in the ways that they want to which makes the case of whether our houses of worship are legally protected against ICE raids still a developing question. We are very proud that a Gurdwara Sahib in California had joined that lawsuit to ensure that our houses of worship are considered safe havens and sanctuaries for our community. But what I'm hearing from our Gurdwara Sahibs, at least in New York City, that they are still, you know, welcome to provide additional services. They're willing to continue protecting the Sangat and provide this kind of information, which I think really embodies our Sikh values.
Right. So information is the first step. You know, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਹਥਿਆਰ ਦੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ strengthen ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ. You know, you can take solace in the fact that at least you know what your rights are. So once again, SALDEF ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ webinar organize ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ. Jaslin, you know, SALDEF does such amazing work in the community. You're now personally involved with a lot of this work. You know, if someone were to find themselves in this kind of a situation, can they reach out to SALDEF for help? Can you tell us a little bit about what that scenario would look like?
Yes, absolutely. So, of course, not everybody has access to an immigration attorney, especially one that speaks Punjabi. So we take these cases very seriously. People have contacted our office directly about questions they have about upcoming travel, secondary screenings, what they faced at the airport. So if you have concerns or if you have a loved one who has been either detained by ICE, somebody who has had a questionable interaction with immigration enforcement, you can call our office, visit our website, email us, and we are more than happy to help connect you with some legal services from our partners, from other lawyers in your state, and help you get the representation that you need.
Absolutely. That is, really, really important. Once again, ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੀਗਲ ਹੈਲਪ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, of course you can reach out to SALDEF. Once again, Saudi community, one of the oldest organizations working in this space, and we so appreciate the work that you're doing. Jaslin, we were just talking about what lies ahead, even in the next few days, whether it's for cities like New York or Los Angeles, and it seems that people are really energized. If you had to leave our viewers with one piece of advice, should they find themselves in a confrontation, in an altercation, whether it's something as simple as asking for a badge from a law enforcement officer, asking for a written proof, a warrant, something. Can you give us some, actionable advice, something small, something easy for our viewers to walk away from this program with, so they are better prepared, whether they're at home with their family, whether they're going to work, going to worship, dropping their kids off at school, or on the streets protesting?
Make an emergency plan, 100%. If there's any protest that you hope to attend, or even, of course, like you said, going about your daily routine, dropping your kids off at school, those emergency contacts are going to be so important, so people know who to call if you are in an emergency situation. What we tell people in our day-to-day trainings at the Gurdwara is that you should have a list of trusted family, friends, other people in your network who know your phone number. You have a file of your important documents at home with photocopies, somebody that you trust who has this information about you, so they can call their local elected official, they can call your city and state agencies, and ask for protections on your behalf. It is so important to make a safety plan with your loved ones.
Thank you so much. Fantastic advice. Once again, SALDEF, Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਵੈਬਿਨਾਰ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਜੂਨ 18 ਨੂੰ। ਸਕਰੀਨ ਤੇ ਜੋ QR ਕੋਡ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਕੈਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰਜਿਸਟਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੀਗਲ ਐਡਵਾਈਸ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਏਗੀ about your rights in these types of situations that we're seeing more and more of. Jaslin, Kaur, as always, so great talking to you, and I don't think this conversation could come at a more important time. Keep doing the amazing work that you're doing, as well as the organization within which you're doing it. And ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਧੰਨਵਾਦੀ ਹਾਂ for putting this together for our community, and hopefully this will offer some protection to folks that are in these situations. Jaslin, have a good rest of your evening. Sat Sri Akal. ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੀ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। Once again, it's crazy times to be in the United States. ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ ਵੇਖ ਕੇ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਮੁਲਕ ਦੀ ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ ਵੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ। ਇਹ ਸਟੋਰੀ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਡਿਕਟੇਟਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਦੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ। But this is modern day America, and ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਹੈ, ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਲੇ ਹੋਏ ਹੈ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਸੀ ਹੋ, ਸਪੈਨਿਸ਼ ਹੋ, ਬਲੈਕ ਹੋ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਮੁਲਕ ਤੋਂ, everyone is affected. And the crazy part is ਜੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਰਹਿਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਜੰਮ ਪਲ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ, ਜੋ ਸਦੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਤੋਂ ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵਲੀ ਅਫੈਕਟ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਲੜਾਈ ਹੈ, ਸਰਟਨਲੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਹੈ। SALDEF ਦੇ ਵੈਬਿਨਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੈਸਟ ਸੀਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਕੋਈ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ, ਕਮੈਂਟਸ, ਕੰਸਰਨਸ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ contact ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। info@jusbroadcasting.com, ashmita@jusbroadcasting.com. Stay safe out there, and ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ। ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।